Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. My name is Sean.
My name is Tori.
I'm Missy.
And I'm Ray.
And we're going to do Christmas horror today.
Woo!
That is the appropriate response. Actually, that's not my response at all. We're going to do Christmas horror, and we're going to deep dive this a little bit, y'all. So I was just basically setting up with these guys before we hit record. There's a couple that are stalwarts, and we're not going to use those as our picks. We're each going to do two picks. We're going to round robin them. And the three that I feel like are the essential Christmas horror movies that we are not going to talk about, we'll acknowledge right now. Krampus, Gremlins, the original Black Christmas. So is it safe to say, all of you guys, that am I wrong in assuming those are like the three wise men of Christmas horror?
Yes, indeed.
I agree with that.
Feels fair.
Okay. Fair. I mean, it's kind of interesting because it's well, not exactly every era, because it's like 70s, 80s, and 80s big budget too, on top of where, Black Christmas is like not big budget. And then Krampus, which is, 2000, whatever, 14 or something like that. And also fairly large budget. Looks like it, right? I mean, that movie looks like it cost billions. I just think that Krampus is fucking gorgeous from start to finish. Everything about it.
I agree with that. I try to watch Krampus every year. Krampus and Gremlins. Black Christmas it's a classic, but if I don't get to it, I don't care as much.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to watch Krampus and Gremlins if I can.
Definitely Krampus, and try to get both Black Christmases in, because I like the second. It's really grown on me over the years.
The 2006
the reboot.
Yes,
we'll get to that, because that's spoiler alert. That's one of my picks.
Oh,
I mean, I had a harder time with this than you guys, because I don't, other than those three we mentioned off the top, I don't really give a shit about Christmas horror. It doesn't usually work for me.
Even though Bigos has a Christmas horror movie now, which is going to be one of the ones I talk about.
I mean, I was super excited for that movie, and it's my least favorite Joe Bigos movie. I do really like it. I'm going to watch it this year, but it's my least favorite. Maybe I'll feel differently. And it's not the concept of it's just largely that there's parts where I'm like, yeah, I think we could have lopped off them talking about, like, metal bands. You could have taken some of that runtime out of this, or I don't know. I feel like the dialogue's a little bit indulgent. I know what
you mean, but I don't mind it entirely, because we'll get more into that.
We'll get more into it. We'll get more into
it. Of the three actual the pillars of Christmas horror, as it were. Black Christmas, I've only seen a handful of times, but it's entertaining. I think it's impressive the way that it doesn't ever let on as to who the killer is, and never gets a clear picture of him at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it incredibly interesting that the two central Christmas movies of all time, Black Christmas and
Christmas Story.
The Christmas Story? We're fucking directed by the same guy. That's nuts. The guy who gave you a creepy, breathy guy killing kids, girls at a sorority at Christmas time, as one of the hallmark of Christmas horror movies, and then the Christmas movie that gets shown every.
Yep.
I still think TBS every year runs it for 24 hours on Christmas. It's just their movie. They just rerun it over and over again all day.
Bob Clark just wanted to give you options, Ray, okay?
I guess so. It wasn't until I was older that I realized, oh my God, Gremlins is totally a Christmas movie. He gets the fucking gremlin as a gift from a mogwai from his father as a gift.
Right.
And
well, also everything about it, there's a Christmas tree. There's so much stuff about it.
There's a badass. The mom has to fight the fucking gremlin in the Christmas tree. There's just an amazing sequence. I completely forgot about that. It's just one of those movies that for some reason I forget at some point it's a Christmas movie, but then I'm like, yeah, it totally is.
And it's Christmas music. through the whole
Yeah.
thing, the whole score. That whole scene with the mom, it's where she's fighting the gremlin and puts him in the blender and everything with the
Yeah.
Christmas cookies. It's playing that famous Christmas song they play in church.
Yeah.
The do you see me?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you hear what I hear?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
I've never understood, there's this argument that arose about 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that Gremlins and Die Hard are not Christmas movies, or that they are, right? And it's become very polarized. And Die Hard, I can see the argument. Okay. It does, like, it's a Christmas party, it's Christmas time, blah, 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 blah. I could see the argument. I don't see how you can say Gremlins is not a Christmas. I mean, like what Anthony suggested to me, because I was like, man, I'm having a hard time picking movies. He's like, what about The Lodge? Like that has, and I love The Lodge, but I'm like, ultimately, I didn't want to use it because I'm like, it's incidental. It's part of the motivating force of the movie. But I'm like, it doesn't feel like a Christmas movie. You can't argue that with Gremlins. Everything about it is Christmas. So while it's not about like a family's Christmas. I mean, it's as Christmas as It's a Wonderful Fucking Life, in my opinion, if not more.
I mean, isn't that the whole reason they go to the lodge? Is for
It is,
to try and integrate her into their family Christmas.
Yeah,
so
but
I mean, you could argue it's a Christmas movie.
You could.
It's a fucked up one, but it's a Christmas. It's a horror movie.
Well, what defines a Christmas movie? Does it have to be incorporated? Does it have to be just for the Christmas time? I need to know this for my legal defense, Ray.
And if we were doing this next year, I might be picking It's a Wonderful Knife. But since we just covered that, I'm not gonna,
I'm gonna say much like just like, okay, I'm gonna say two things for that paradigm. One, if it fits the somewhat of the Christmas movie ethos, which is usually the concept of a Christmas movie is you're either trying to save a holiday or you're trying to make sure that the holiday takes place. So in that vein, I mean, John McClane is trying to save Christmas for these people. He's trying to make sure they get to their Christmases. So that's a Christmas movie for you. But I think the other thing is that it does take place at that particular time. Like otherwise, like you have to throw out like Hell House as being like a Halloween movie, even though the whole thing is like they're opening this scare attraction on Halloween, right?
Yeah. That's fair. But I mean, I don't think anybody would argue Hell House. If you were like, oh, Hell House is a Halloween movie, people would be like, yeah, sure. But for some reason, there's a protected aura of what constitutes a Christmas movie, and it's fine. It's totally fine. So, but I like the way you did that, Ray. So that's a good parameter. Like it is either trying to save Christmas, and I would argue that John McClane is not trying to save their Christmas. He's trying to save their fucking lives.
Right.
It's not like he's climbing up the elevator shaft with a fucking sack of presents. He did
come there to celebrate Christmas.
They did. It's a Christmas party.
Time. For his he can't. Well, the whole reason he comes to LA is to celebrate Christmas with his family.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying. But okay, no, Die Hard is
nothing else. He's trying to save his own Christmas.
Die Hard is not the purview of this. I consider it.
I'm sorry,
fine.
I got a little lost there. But
Way to get a little off track.
I'm just trying to help with the whole horror movie concept of Christmas.
No, that's good. I'm glad you outlined that because that is true. They're either trying to save it or trying to make sure it happens.
Because one of the movies that I watched today, I was like, "Is that a Christmas movie?" And it was something that like had been on my Amazon list for like a while, and I was like, I don't know what to watch. And then I was looking up Christmas horror movies. And it came up as one online, and I was like, "Oh, really?" So then I started watching it, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So when I get into it, I'll explain.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess it does.
All right. So all right, let's begin. Tori, what's your first one?
My first one, because I actually share one with Ray, is 2015's A Christmas Horror Story, starring the wonderful William Shatner. That wasn't a joke. Have you guys seen that one? It suffers from a terrible thumbnail. It really has a terrible thumbnail.
Is that the one where it's like the demon fighting Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Krampus, excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, isn't Krampus a demon?
He has a name, Ray. Put some respect on it.
My apology.
Don't
So-
apologize to me. You apologize to him.
Okay, talk about
Sean,
this
I
one.
think you saw it
I
because Joe Bob showed it last Christmas. And
Yeah,
I'm
but you
pretty
know
sure
what?
You watched it.
I don't think I watched very much of that episode, or I forgot it completely because I just he did Don't Open Till Christmas and the Christmas Horror Story. I watched most of Don't Open Till Christmas about 2 nights ago, and I'm like, I
That one
remember it.
wasn't very good.
It's
The
awful.
Christmas Horror
I remember
Story is
none
fun.
of that.
Is that the one where the dude? Oh, is that the one that takes place in England?
Yeah, it's terrible. Let's not talk about it. So it's not good.
It's not.
But okay, so Tori, talk about A Christmas Horror Story.
So those movies directed by Grant Harvey, Stephen Hoban, and Brett Sullivan. Here's a fun fact about them. So Mr. Brett Sullivan directed Ginger Snaps.
Oh.
And then the other two gentlemen either produced or worked on it somehow. So they all met on Ginger Snaps.
Wait,
Um,
no. Wait, he didn't direct Ginger Snaps because John Fawcett directed Ginger Snaps.
Oh, well, he then did something with Ginger
Produced.
Snaps. But
Okay, he produced. Okay,
they
got
all
it.
met on Ginger Snaps doing something. But pretty much it's like a horror Christmas anthology. It's 3 stories plus a wraparound. So it's technically 4. Really fun. First of all, it takes place in the same fake town that Ginger Snaps does. It's called Bailey Downs.
Oh shit.
Yeah. All of the stories, it's like Trick or Treat, they're all connected, and you're eventually going to see how. And again, it's just a fun time. I don't want to give
now you
anything
convinced
away.
me to want to see this. I mean, comparing it to Trick or Treat sounds like a delight.
It's a lot of fun. It's a good one.
Mhm,
And
it is. It just suffers from that terrible thumbnail. It looks like
It
Yeah,
is
it
a
has-
terrible
yeah,
thumbnail. It is
right.
it looks like one of those you'd go into like Hollywood Video and they'd have those like who made
Sci-fi.
this?
Exactly.
Like yeah.
But it's like a
But it's actually
sci-fi
a good-
made for TV
Mm-hmm.
thumbnail.
Yes, it is.
It very much is.
But the
it's a
first
fun
story,
movie.
yeah,
And
it's a lot
most of the
fun.
stories are good. I think there's only one I didn't really care for.
The first story is 3 friends investigating this mysterious murder of 2 high school students in a Catholic school. The second one is like a shitty family visiting their rich aunt, and they get Krampus involved. And then the third is about, I believe it's a cop. His son gets lost in the woods. They get their son back, but he's different. I don't want to give anything too much away, so I want you guys to enjoy it. And then the 4th wraparound, I think, was the best. To me, that Missy knows exactly what I'm talking about. That's the funnest one. But it's
that's the best part.
I don't want to say anything because I really don't want to ruin it for you guys, but it was a nice surprise. You think it's going one way, and it
nice.
It does. And all the stories are pretty good. The only one I don't really care for is the one with the high school kids in the school, but even that isn't terrible.
Yeah, but the good thing with that though, I think because they make it as kind of the first story, kind of get it out of the way a little bit, and they focus more on the others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys should definitely watch. It's a lot of fun.
I agree.
I think the thumbnail really was the thing that kept convincing me away from it. But if I'll check it out.
It's on the Tubi.
I think it's still up on Shudder with Joe Bob too, under one of the Christmas episodes.
It was Brett Sullivan directed Ginger Snaps 2, Tori, and
okay.
That is my favorite Ginger Snaps. So that's an immediate, very cool. Oh man, I'm so glad you picked that one.
Yeah, it's a good one. And if it's still up with Joe Bob, watch it that way.
What an excellent under the radar suggestion. Good call, Tori.
Yeah. Well,
A+ on the assignment so far, kid.
So listeners, don't be like us and judge this by the thumbnail.
I watch this shit for you guys. I'm just
Nice. Missy, what's your number one? Or I mean, well, you're first, not number one, you're first.
I love festive horror movies. I don't really like Christmas or the holidays, but I love holiday horror. Figure that one out. But my first pick is Santa's Sleigh from 2005.
Oh, Goldberg.
Yep. It's my absolute favorite Christmas horror. I mean, I don't watch Christmas movies. I only watch Christmas horror movies, but it's my favorite one. If I only have time to watch one movie every year at some point in December, it's always Santa's Sleigh. And it was written and directed by David Seaman. And it's the one starring Bill Goldberg as Evil Santa, Douglas Smith as Nicholas Yulson. He was in Antiviral. Emily DeRaven from Lost. She was Claire, plays Mary, and Robert Culp as the grandfather. And it's basically two kids find out they're trying to stop evil Santa Claus on a killing spree, and it turns out that Santa is actually a demon who lost a bet with an angel, and they're trying to save the. It's super snarky and like campy.
It's
but
good bad.
It's good bad, and I love it. It's got one of the best opening sequences of any movie ever. And actually, 2 years ago when Joe Bob was in Chicago, he showed this at the Music Box. He showed Silent Night, Deadly Night, and then he showed Santa's Sleigh. And he started signing and meeting people 15 minutes after Santa's Sleigh started because he wanted to watch the opening sequence again.
Nice.
Which was pretty cool. And I think it's a blast. It's actually got a ridiculously high body count. There's just not very much blood. But I think it's a really good time. Goldberg is a fantastic evil Santa. It cracks me up. It never stops being funny. It's stupid humor. I apologize if people watch it and they're like, all right, this movie is ridiculous, and it's not scary. It's campy and cheesy. It'll make you laugh. Kick back with your friends, have a drink or whatever, and watch this, and it's fun. You're gonna laugh your ass off, and everybody's gonna die.
I remember having like a lot of like the cast too. I was like, holy shit. How did they convince you to be in this movie?
Well, that
Like,
opening, right? Like, I watched it for the first time yesterday, and Missy's talked about it for years, and I rented it on Prime, and it's very fun. I knew so this is not the movie's fault. They do this sitcom thing where like right away I'm like, this is filmed like a fucking sitcom. It looks like one, and there's even elements of the script where when people are delivering their lines, there's almost a pause for like where you'd think there'd be like, yeah. So I'm like, is there like a version of this with a laugh track? Because that would be interesting. But I don't necessarily. I recoil at the way sitcoms look and whatnot. So while I understood that it was mockery, like it was rubbing up against me in the wrong way a little bit. But it is. I love like there's no for the first like 15 minutes. So you get the opening, which reminded me of the opening of Punisher Warzone, 100%. Because dinner table massacre, right? It's so similar in a way.
Okay, but I forgot about that.
So, and it was funny because I put it on, and Kirsten and I are watching it, and her mom comes out, and she's like, "Is that Fran Drescher? Oh, what are you watching?" I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "It's a Christmas movie called Santa's Sleigh," and she sits down. She ended up watching the whole movie with us, but it's so funny because like as soon as he starts killing people, she's like, "Wait, what is this movie?" I'm like, "Well, Sleigh is spelled S-L-A-Y." But it has
That's wonderful.
It has a broader appeal than I imagined, because she did watch the whole movie. She'd be like, "Oh my goodness!" Like when the violence would happen. But
I can't turn away.
But like the first like 15, 20 minutes of the movie, I love when they cut to Santa Claus, it's like they'll be like advancing the plot with Douglas Smith and his grandfather, right? And it'll just cut to like Goldberg killing people, and it'll cut back, and there's like there is no, they're just intercut in a way where it's like and now Violet's back. You know, and like it's part of the plot, but it's not like they're even like,
Right.
oh, and he's going here right now. They literally just interrupt the scene with the grandfather and the kid to watch him kill people, and then they come back. So I'm like, man, this is really I don't know. It was a good time. I will say it wasn't what I expected. I didn't love it, but I did like it. So
I love that you inflicted it upon your family.
I didn't inflict it. Like literally, I just thought it was so funny when it's like, is that Fran Drescher? And she's gonna say they both love the nanny, which is not something it's not in my vocabulary. Although I will say this for years. I thought Fran Drescher was the woman from the Progressive commercials. I don't know why. So,
oh my God.
Flo, the insurance lady?
like at one point, they were watching the nanny like a couple years ago, and I was like, "What is this?" And they're like, "This is the nanny." I'm like, "Oh," because actually, Fran Drescher's fucking hot, and I'd heard people say that before, and I'd be like, "What? The Progressive chick? Really? Okay, I mean that's fine." But like now I get it. Like
it's a beautician and the beast, Sean. Come on.
Now I get it. I mean, yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Fucking crazy ass movie.
Yeah, I know you can rent it on Prime. I have it, so I just looked up to see what it was on, and it looked like just a Prime rental, but it could be on Tubi too. Tubi is everything.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but Santa Slay and Uncle Sam those two always remind me of each other.
I mean, I've seen both movies. I don't really see the similarity.
The feel.
I think it might be like
I think it's more the vibe.
I think it's the
Okay.
vibe. It's like that and like Jack Frost, for example.
Okay.
Oh,
Because if you see Jack Frost like in like the way the kills are orchestrated, things like
look what I put on.
You do not have that on.
I do.
Which is again it's like not a great movie, but it's fun. It's an entertaining watch. Like the way that one kid gets decapitated and like the way he does like the way the snowman does it, what's her name? The chick from American
Shannon
Pie.
Elizabeth.
That's hilarious. Like there's certainly a room for fun, like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's definitely on my runner-up list.
Yeah. Honorable mention for me is I know it's not a good movie because the whole movie is almost just flashback. Is Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Well, yeah,
The
where they
whole
use all the
movie
footage from the first
It's
movie.
all the footage. It's a lot of the footage from the first movie, and then it's like a weird little short like story all into its own. And one of the most famous scenes, the whole garbage day, doesn't even take place at Christmas. And then suddenly he decides to don a Christmas suit and start killing people at the end of the movie. And you're like, okay, I guess this is how it ties in. But the majority of the movie, it's not a holiday horror movie at all. It's just this goofy ass fun movie, and you're just like, I don't mind how weird this is. I love it.
Oh, well
He's
said.
like, wild card, I'm worse, man.
Well
you don't know
said.
what I'm gonna do.
So Ray,
Oh,
what's
goodness.
your first movie? What's your first entry into this list of debauchery?
Okay, I'll go with my the first one I'll say is Christmas Bloody Christmas, which is the Bigos film that came out. Is that 2 years ago or a year ago?
Last
A
year.
year ago.
Last year? Okay, it was last year. Cool. Because I remember watching it and like really enjoying it, the shit out of it. And I was like, oh. And then when I started to think about Christmas movies, for some reason, I didn't remember that right away. And then I was looking at a list and I was like, oh shit, that's right. Bigos is a Christmas movie. I don't mind. I'll go before I do the deep dive on it. The plot is pretty simple. It's the holidays, it's Christmas Eve, going into Christmas.
That's
It's
what Christmas
the
Eve is.
owner
Yeah.
of Good call.
Ray,
Good call.
Ray, you're already over talking that, like
I know,
literally.
Captain
It-
over explanation.
It's just a robotic Santa killing people. That's
Yes,
like you don't need to
yes,
say anything
yes.
else. Like,
Basically,
Chick wants to
yes.
party on Christmas Eve. Robotic Santa
Basically-
fucks it up.
Yeah,
There you go.
basically a Santa Claus, a repurposed soldier, a repurposed robot soldier that's been put in like a kid's toy stores, and it comes to life and starts killing people off. And man, I think it's so much fun. Like, I don't even mind the like Tarantino-esque, like we're gonna have these conversations about stuff. Because there is the whole thing where, like, besides the metal conversation, there's also a conversation about like horror movies and which ones she thinks are better versus what he thinks are better. And she has the controversial opinion almost every time.
Sequels are better.
Yes, she loves the sequels. And like he's like, "Oh God, you're so
Yeah.
wrong." Um, but then once the murder and the carnage kicks in, like it's fucking brutal and it's great. Like the first two you kind of barely see what's happening, and like, but then like, man, when that family or gets taken out, it's fucking hardcore. It's so the father just gets taken out so harsh, and then the mother's next, right in front of the kid, and then the kid, and you're like, oh my god, that movie's so much fun. Like once that carnage kicks in, like it really kicks in hardcore. Like he's fucking people up.
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, I feel like Sarah Connor had an easier monster to deal with in the Terminator than she has to deal with because she just keeps demolishing this thing and it just keeps getting back up. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
This movie
Oh,
was my
man.
second pick. So I love this movie. Like last
Isn't
year
it so much fun?
it was my favorite movie last year
That's right.
because
That's
it's
right.
so fucking good.
It's
But
so much fun.
it is. And again, I get the understanding why people thought it was too much talking, but I don't give a shit. That's what he does. That's his style. He does that with the characters, and honestly, it makes me like him more. Because I tell you what, rewatching that and seeing Robbie die again broke my fucking heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't it hard? Yeah, I felt kind of weirdly double hard for Bobby this time because
Robbie,
I don't Robbie. What did I just say? Bobby?
Bobby.
Oh, I did say Bobby? Okay. Robbie. I think I doubly felt bad this time because of my current like my recent romantic like debacles. And I'm like, oh man. Because it seemed like as we're watching the film, like he's dug on her like a bit. But like I felt like he finally had his moment and like they were kind of like having a little thing there. And I was like, this dude is finally getting what he wants. I feel good. And then he gets murdered by a
Yeah.
mechanical Santa Claus. It's like that's not what he wanted for Christmas.
And I love just the ending reminds me so much of Hardware. Just the whole this
For sure.
thing keeps coming. Yeah, I get more Hardware vibe off of it. It won't fucking die. She has to do the water. She fucking like loses everything. It's terrible, and she still fights. But God, I did love this movie. I mean, I guess it could have some things cut out, but whatever. Fuck off. It's great. There's a kid death.
The conversations aren't what bother me. It's that there's so many of the it seems to occupy so much of the movie, and I know people said this same thing about Bliss. I don't see it in Bliss at all. I love Bliss start to finish. It's one of my favorite movies like of all time.
So good.
I have no problem with anything with Dora Madison's character at all. And I know there's times she acts all tough or whatever. It's fine. It like all of it works for me. I feel like with this, he repeats himself a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
And which, whatever. Like, but also I did, and I need to watch it again. I watched it last year. I might have watched it twice last year. I don't remember, but I also felt like the end, like the way it keeps coming back. There was a point where I was like, okay, really? How many times is it going to come back? Like 9?
Yeah, like wrap it up. Let's wrap it
Yeah,
up.
but it does serve a purpose in that she does end up, losing everything or whatever. And it's a gorgeous film. Great Steve Moore soundtrack. I've been listening to it every day for the last couple days.
Oh man, I need that soundtrack.
It is a great movie. It's just after Bliss and VFW, I didn't expect him to do something that like kind of reiterated certain aspects of that. Like I think he's so incredibly talented. And I mean, fuck me, in my opinion, he can do whatever he wants, and he should.
And I will eat it up and thank him and ask for seconds because he's like one of the newer horror directors I'm
Yeah.
just all about.
Dude, ever
I
since
didn't
Almost
know
Human.
that there was that opinion out there, really. That's kind of surprises me.
What about Bliss? Oh, I recommend that movie to so many people after it
No,
came
no, no,
out.
no. That people have reacted and said like, "Oh, the conversation this goes a little long." I'm like, because I don't the movies don't lag for me, so I don't feel like that. I don't know. For some reason, like these, and I'm not knocking Mind's Eye or any of his earlier stuff, but like some of the earlier stuff doesn't have that like camaraderie of the characters that like VFW does and like this does, that I don't quite mind it at all. Like for me, it feels like the characters feel a little bit closer to me than some of like the earlier films because they don't have that camaraderie.
It feels more
And then
real.
like I don't know, yeah, like I
It
know
feels
people
more real.
like I think that people that think that the thing that people forget about with like when Tarantino started doing it and like Smith started doing it in his films was that the reason it was so different and so interesting for people is because we suddenly started seeing movies where the characters were having bull conversations like the bullshit conversations we have with our friends because we don't
Hmm.
like see our friends like get into like weird, heavy topics of conversation all the time. We aren't always like, oh, this is what I'm going through right now. Like, like I see you or see Tori, and like we start talking about like what horror movies we've seen recently, and
Yeah.
like something we saw in the theaters, or
That's
like,
why I
oh
started the
yeah, did you
podcast.
see that? Did you see Thanksgiving? I saw Thanksgiving. It was fucking great. Like, yeah, exactly. Like it's that's the kind of conversation that friends have. They do have bullshit conversations like that. So I don't necessarily mind it. And it's not like it's bogging down the film because I mean, we're cutting back from that. We're cutting back and forth from that to like the Santa Claus murdering the family and like her at the bar with like Robbie and then the Santa Claus coming to life and killing their friends at the toy store. Like it's not dragging the film. It's not the only thing happening on screen. It's not like the
Hmm.
conversation at the opening of Reservoir Dogs, where it's just the conversation. Like there's other action happening. We're just cutting
Yeah.
back and forth. So I don't mind it at all. I don't. That's a weird criticism that people lobby, but I feel like they're missing the point that the camaraderie that it forms for the characters.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair.
It makes them more endearing.
Yeah,
Because then they
exactly.
feel like us, like or
Yeah,
people we know. I mean,
it feels so
I
much
don't think
shittier when their friend dies. You're like, fuck, you just
right.
watched
Then
their
you
friend die. That
care
sucks.
exactly. I don't I don't know. I don't think Christmas Bloody Christmas is draggy at all. That um, in fact, the conversations make them more endearing. But then once the gore kicks in, it doesn't stop. Like
No, it
it's
doesn't.
Hmm.
super gory. It's super fast paced, and then it's just paired with some goofiness. Like I love that it makes robot noises while it's coming after you, and it blinks red and green Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Or it's obviously a human wearing a Santa suit until he
Hmm.
gets into his other forms. And dude, you gotta love a movie that starts off with fake commercials. Like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I
Yes.
forgot about that.
Yeah, I did too.
I usually know like I'm in for a good time with fake
Hmm.
advertisements. So I love
That's a
that
good
man.
call.
I'm gonna make
Yeah,
out with him and
I do too. He is a
Oh yeah,
great
yeah. We're here because I Migos is one of my favorite like current indie horror directors. Like that guy. Anytime I hear he's putting something out, I like turn me on to him. But anytime I hear about it, something coming out, I'm like, oh, that's gonna be good. I want to see that. So like if it's Beyond Fest next year, I don't care how crazy it's gonna be to get tickets. Like trust me, Sean and I will try to tickets and be there because that's always going to be good. Like even if we have to fight people, we're going to try and get those tickets.
yep.
take
I love
notes,
his stuff.
David Gordon Green, please. And Bigos.
Okay, let me offer up one. I'm gonna start with this one. So I watched the 2006 Black Christmas, and the reason I watched this, so I was thinking about this. I had the DVD for this for years, and I didn't buy it. So I think the thing was my ex was a big Buffy fan, and I think because Michelle Trachtenberg was in this, we got it at one of the, there's those like Hollywood and Blockbuster used to do a thing when they still existed. You'd go in to rent a movie and they'd have a big bin, and it would be like, oh, buy two get one free pre-watched movies, and it would be like, $10 you're walking out with 3 movies. And I think we got one that way. So I had seen it around 2006, 2007, around the time I first moved to California. And I really like what they do with Christmas lights for the lighting in this movie a lot.
Mhm.
It has always stayed with me. I've only seen it one other time. So almost like 18 years ago or something. I was surprised with the cast because there's Michelle Trachtenberg, but also Mary Elizabeth Winstead is in it, who I've really come to like as an actress. And the surprise for me was Andrea Martin, who plays their like den mother or how, I don't know, whatever that role is, like the older
Oh,
woman.
from the original?
Is she in the original?
The den mother? Yeah. She's one of the girls. She's one of the students.
Oh my God. Okay, so I know her. She is the fucking nun in the show Evil. So that's what I know her from. Like, oh man, wow! I didn't even realize that she was in the original Black Christmas.
No, not that you would know this, but she's also the aunt in My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
I
She's
would
really
definitely
Yeah.
not know that. Nothing against it. It's just Kirsten pointed out to me.
Katie Cassidy?
No, well, she knew everybody in it. I didn't know any of them except the ones I just mentioned. But she mentioned Oliver Hudson is Goldie Hawn. It's Kate Hudson's brother, right? So Kurt Russell's stepson. Not to be confused with Wyatt Russell, right? So anyway, whatever. I actually don't like this movie though, and here's why. I didn't remember how I felt about it other than those lights. Since I have watched this movie, I've seen Black Christmas the original many times, and this movie does exactly what Rob Zombie's Halloween does for Halloween. It over fucking explains the backstory that we don't need to begin with, and it just keeps adding layers. Oh, and then this. Oh, and then his mom fucked him, and she had his sister, which is really his daughter. And I was just like, fuck you. The original Black Christmas is fucking terrifying because, like Ray said at the top, there is absolutely, you do not get to know Billy. You don't know anything. Like it's fucking terrifying. And this just goes so, I mean, at one point I'm like, is this prequel to Sin City, That Yellow Bastard? Like, fucking seriously? Seriously?
Like, I hated it. When I first saw it, I was like, this is fucking stupid. What the fuck? They fucking bastardized this movie I love, and that genuinely scares me. And then I watched it again and I was like, oh fuck. It's like, it's doing the complete opposite of the original and just making it bright and fucking just out there and just totally like wackadoo crazy. So the more I've watched it over the years, the more I've enjoyed it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think it's the worst movie I've ever seen by any stretch, but
and I could totally separate it from the original. It's like Suspiria. I can separate them and enjoy them both for what they are. But Black Man, and it's gory.
It's gory, but the other,
it's really gory.
Like then it's like everybody has to get the bag over the head. Really? Like, so that's the signature kill. Like, I was like, come on, man.
But I was excited to see the full, like, actual unicorn death.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. But it is a visually pretty movie. That's kind of the only thing I really like about it, but it is visually cool to watch.
But it's so, I feel like it's so outlandish. It knows what it's doing. It knows it's fucking, we know what we're doing. Because, like, dude, to have like Billy almost having these supernatural like strength, plus like, well, same thing with Agnes, the supernatural strength, and then having Agnes being played by a man was fucking brilliant, just to make it weird. Oh, I thought it was so good. I don't know. I enjoy this wackadoo ass fucking movie.
See,
It's
I
so
feel
fucking
like
weird.
if anything, you've convinced me to now watch this because it sounds like from Corey's saying, in addition to what you're saying, it sounds like maybe someone was given this as an assignment, like like some director, like I don't know who directed it, but it was like they're like, hey, we want you to go make Black Christmas, and he was like, oh Jesus, you mean the iconic horror movie Black Christmas? Are you kidding? Oh shit, what am I gonna do? And then he was like,
Here's some acid. Do what you want.
what if I just don't go with what the original film is, and I'll just make fucking nutty and just like go like almost go like full tilt crazy with it.
Tori, number 2.
Well, my second one, I'm going to count it. It might not count depending on your definition, but I'm going to pick Tales from the Crypt, season 1, episode 1 of All Through the House.
Dude, good call.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Good call.
It counts.
I haven't seen that in years, but yeah, it's a good
Yeah,
call.
excellent.
That fucking episode scares the shit out of me. And to this day, it still creeps me out. We got motherfucking Larry Drake.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say, Larry Drake. And then he's creepy ass Psycho Santa trying to break into the house of the therapist for Lethal Weapon. I forgot her name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
But it's literally only them two and the little girl. Like there's 3 actors the whole episode. And it's scary as shit.
Yeah, good call. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
And it's still scary.
Yeah. And I mean, have you guys ever watched the original with Tales from the Crypt with Miss Joan Collins playing the role?
Once, a very long time ago.
What year would that
so
be from?
I want to say it's the early 70s, but it's that movie Tales from the Crypt, and Joan Collins plays the mother in that little short story. But I mean, it's good, but it is not like Tales from the Crypt. Highly recommend it. I miss that show so much, you guys.
Me too.
Do you guys remember that episode?
I do, for sure.
Oh yeah, it's just been many years, but yeah, I remember it.
That was one of my absolute favorite shows because I didn't have cable, but for some reason it would come on a certain channel at like midnight Saturdays. So I would stay up late and purposely try to catch it.
Written by Fred Decker, sorry. Fred Decker and Stephen Dodd. Directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Oh, that makes sense because
That's awesome.
the mom was in Fred Decker's movie Monster Squad.
Yeah, she's the
She's the mom.
Mary Elaine Trainer. Wow.
Mary Elaine Trainer. Thank you.
Also in The Goonies, Die Hard, Lethal Weapon 2, Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, because she's the cops therapist and she's like, they make her crazy.
All right, good fucking call. Missy, number 2.
Anna and the Apocalypse from 2017. You can watch it on Shudder right now. It was directed by John McPhail, starring Ella Hunt as Anna, Malcolm Cummings as John, and Sarah Swire as Steph. It's basically just, it's a pretty basic zombie apocalypse story. It's a group of friends in a small town trying to survive. But it pairs a musical with with Christmas and the zombie apocalypse. And we already know I don't like Christmas, and I usually don't like musicals either, but I love this one. And I think part of it is that it balances the music really well, though, with it's still a super gory, bleak zombie story.
Mm-hmm.
But it's musical on Christmas.
You know what it reminded me of the first time I saw it? Did you ever see the musical episode of Buffy?
I have.
It reminded me a lot of that. It reminded me so much of that because it has a thing of like, if you it's been years since I've watched that episode, but if I remember correctly, like as like the episode's playing through and like, she's fighting a monster or something, or like something's happening with the other characters, like they'll be fighting some monster and then they'll start singing a song that literally comments on what's happening in the scene. And like
Mhm.
that's what that this movie does. Like it has these moments where like they have to get somewhere, or they have to like get through something, and they're literally like singing about as they're doing it. And I was like, oh, this is like that Buffy episode. Like this is cool. Like it plus you're right. I mean, it's funny, it's gory. There's a lot to love about that movie. It's a really good movie.
It is. I mean, it's way better than I ever thought that it would be. And I mean,
Yes.
my favorite part is when she's singing this. They're singing this brand new day song about how they're going to turn their life around, and the two lead characters, Anna and her best friend, who has a thing for her, and they're singing this song that sounds happy and upbeat, and they're dancing and skipping through the streets like in any musical. But if you're paying attention in the background, there's all kinds of zombie mayhem happening, like zombies chewing
Yes.
on people, and someone
Yes.
gets thrown off a roof. People fighting off zombies and all this crazy stuff happening in the background. But then it cuts back to these two singing, and you know, they're happy and singing in zombie land. And it's a lot of fun. And yet it
It
still
absolutely
doesn't
is.
sacrifice being a gory, bleak, fucked up zombie movie. It just puts this happy
No, it
spin on
doesn't.
it.
It doesn't. It's very much like the Zombieland movies where they just it's like if you've seen the Zombieland movies, it's very much the same
I
thing
have.
where like they somehow infuse so much comedy into those movies, but they're still incredibly gory and bleak in the
Hmm.
story, but like they're just like I don't know. They do this weird thing of accepting like, well, the world's ending, this is zombies now, but it's not all bad. Like you can find your Twinkie and
Right,
get happy.
Tallahassee gets
Like
his Twinkie.
When life hands you lemonades, Ray.
Make Twinkies.
So now I'm realizing there are more of these than I thought that there were. So that's pretty
Oh,
cool.
there's tons of holidays.
oh
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
especially Christmas.
I don't
There's
like most
tons
of
of
them.
Christmas horror.
I will. You know what? I can. Besides my second pick, I probably have like a little bonus pick that I could throw in there.
Well, here, do your second pick first, and then we'll see if we got time.
Okay, my second pick I just saw today. Like I said, it had been on my list for a while, and then I was like, and then I looked up Christmas horror, and it kept showing up on a list for Christmas horror, and it was this weird little movie called The Retaliators, and um, concept's pretty easy. A pastor, his daughter is killed on Christmas Eve when she goes out with friends to a party, and just so happens to stop at a gas station to put gas in the family in the car. Promised her dad she would put gas in the car, and the guy in the car next to her has a drug deal has gone bad. He put the guy who he was supposed to just give the money to into the trunk of his car. He starts hearing something moving in the trunk. Gets in a hard car. The guy who has taken the other guy captive. I forget the name of the bald guy in the film, who's our main villain, but
Joseph Gad.
thank you, Joseph Gad, which has been in some other things, but um, he figures out that she's heard something. He's not going to go to jail because of that. She gets away from him, but then he chases her down, zip ties her to the steering wheel, and pushes the car into the lake. And she, of course, dies. And her father is destroyed. He's already lost his wife. He's now got his other younger daughter, but his older daughter has now been murdered. And it's Christmas time. Like the movie literally, like that's the thing, is I was like, this is a Christmas movie. It literally opens with him and his two daughters at a Christmas tree lot buying the Christmas tree. So it's
Okay.
legit at Christmas.
Okay.
But so she gets murdered, he's just destroyed, can't kind of function, continue on with Christmas and everything else, can't fall back on his religion as he normally does, because he's just like, good, how could this terrible thing happen to me? I'm a pastor. And this cop who's been assigned the case tells him, like, look, I'm going to catch the person who did this. Don't you worry. And of course he does. But he then comes to him and goes, "I've got an offer for you." And what you find out is that the cop has captured the guy, and instead of taking him into the police and having his day in court, he's chained him up in his basement. Comes the pastor and says, "I will give you a minute to do with him as you want."
Ooh.
And then it just gets fucking crazier from there.
Okay.
Because the drug dealer's brothers are looking for him because he's disappeared with money, and they have and like this they have to find him because of the money that's missing, but they also want to find him because it's his brother, and like it just gets. The opening had me convinced of one thing, and then it did this like Tarantino "let's go back" thing, and then it came back to the beginning of the film, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." Like it gets. The last half hour gets really bizarre, but in a good way, and really
Okay.
gory.
Okay.
It's entertaining watch for sure. Like it doesn't feel like it just feels like a straight revenge thriller up until that last half hour, and then you're like, this is fucking weird. Like it gets. I don't want to give anything away. Just check it out. It's worth a watch. It's on. It's on. It's
Prime.
on. I watched it on Prime. It's free, so you can check it out. And yeah, it's an interesting film. It's definitely worth a watch. It's definitely gory and fun.
I don't know who the character Jed is, but it's played by Mark Menchaca, who I really like him. He was in Ozark, and I've seen. Oh, he was also in Sick, the Kevin Williamson movie from a couple years ago. He's been in a lot of stuff recently. I think he's a very good actor. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I've seen the thumbnail for quite a while now. So it came out in 2021. So I'm going to plug a movie. I'm not going to use it as a pick, but last year for Elements of Horror, Missy and I and Ray, we did a movie that's a Christmas movie that I love, which was The Leech. So I'm not going to talk about it now, but go back if you're listening. That's still on Arrow, I'm pretty sure, streaming on Arrow. That's a great Christmas flick, and that's we talked about it. So that was the second episode of Elements of Horror, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. Also, well, I'll just do my second pick. My second pick was not going to be this. It was going to be something I hated. This is not something I hate because I realized, oh my God. I was just in such a shambles with this. So I was trying, and like the movie I was going to do is Dead End, which has Ray Wise and Lynn Shay in it. Ray Wise is awesome. It's not a great movie. So I was like, oh, really? But and then and Anthony even fucking mentioned this to me the other day, and I still forgot about it. And I feel like a dick because I know the person that made the movie, and I like one of the first episodes of this fucking podcast, we interviewed Adam Marcus about Secret fucking Santa. And Secret Santa is now on Screenbox.
Oh shit.
It's on Screenbox. I've seen it. It's been in conversation recently because Bloody Disgusting has had several articles about it because they just put it on, their Screenbox is Bloody Disgusting. They're like, that's their app or whatever. They're involved. But Secret Santa is it's a great example. Reminds me of Santa's Sleigh a little bit with how fucking snarky, like it is just.
Yes.
And I mean, high body count, gruesome deaths.
It's great. And you know what? What is one thing about that movie that like I like I think because not only did we interview director, we interviewed like one of the stars, his wife, who's in the film, and like she is such an evil bitch.
Yes.
Like just a cunt in that movie. And like the woman is delightful.
Yeah.
One
she's
of the
wonderful.
nicest people you ever meet in person. Like she's so sweet and like thankful for you watching her film and like supporting her career. And like you would not know it watching her on screen. You just think, oh my God, I hope I never meet her because she seems like a real fucking delight. No, she's so nice. Oh my God. Which I give as a credit to her as a performer because man, you watch that movie, you're just like, this is a true evil bitch from hell. Like, oh my God.
She is such a good actress.
I'm going to go ahead and call you out, Eli Roth, out there, if you're listening. I like Thanksgiving, But if you weren't willing to have the killer fuck a turkey like he did in the trailer for the film, Adam Marcus has somebody fuck a decapitated head in this movie. So who's to say you can't do it? It's brutal and it's great.
Brutal, but it's
Mhm.
it is. God, the characters are just so fucking vibrant and like,
Yes.
oh my God, man, I don't know. It is a fucking delight to
It
watch that
is.
fucking movie.
Because I think part of it is because like if you're either like Missy and you don't like the holidays, or one of the things you think about one of the things you dread about the holidays is that, oh my God, I'm gonna have to go see this member of my family,
Yeah.
or maybe a majority of your family, and you're like, I do not get along with these people. The only reason I see them is because of this holiday. Or like, this uncle drives me crazy, and every time I hear him talk at dinner, he does something to just bristle me, and I just want to pick up my fork and stab in his fucking head.
Yeah.
Like, this movie is for you, because this is a family of people that are just on each other's nerves to the last moment, and then when the carnage kicks in, you're like, there's something so fun about it, and something so like therapeutic, because
Yeah.
you're just like, I feel like I've been to that dinner where like I could have easily stabbed somebody in the knife with a fork. Yeah, yeah. Let's watch this. It feels. I forget the word I'm looking for, but you feel like yourself like let go of some anger and tension because you're watching these characters go through it, and you're like, yeah, yeah. This is therapeutic for me. This is my
Yeah.
good. This is my happy place. All right,
Agreed.
cool.
Agreed.
Plus, it's funny. It's funny. It's dark. Bloody. Great movie.
I Curtis Fortier and Drew Lynch are both so fucking good. I really, yeah. So Secret Santa, and I'm glad. I mean, I don't know how many people are subscribed to Screenbox, but it's there. I'm sure you can. Let's see. You can also, I'm sure, rent it on Prime. Yes, you can rent it for $3.99 on Prime. It's on Screenbox. You could buy the DVD or Blu-ray directly from them. I think there's a website. But if great holiday movie, and exactly what Ray just said. Movie won a bunch of awards, and there's a reason why. You want to do brief runner-up honorary mentions, everybody? Tori, you got one? What do you
I
got?
have one.
What do you got?
I have 2016's Better Watch Out.
Never seen that.
Ooh,
Oh, I
that's
still
a
haven't
good
seen
one.
that.
That is a fun
Oh,
little
wait.
one. So
That's the one with the kid, the babysitter.
yes, I mean, I don't want to give anything away. I'm not going to give the plot away. Well, I'll say this: it's during Christmas time. 17-year-old girl is going to go babysit a 12-year-old. A home invasion happens, and that's all I'm going to say, because it's going to flip on you, and you're going to be like, "What the fuck?" But I really recommend it.
Yeah.
I felt like it kind of slid in under the radar a bit. But it's really good. I really enjoyed it. It does get pretty violent. Directed by Chris Peckover, written by Chris and a gentleman named Zach Kahn, and then starring Miss Olivia DeJonge and Levi Miller, and they are great. Check it out, you guys. I think it's streaming on a Peacock and a few other things, but
I think it's on Shutter too.
it's a good surprise.
Go in blind. Don't look up anything because it's not what you expect at all.
And that's all I'll say.
Missy.
I just watched Black Friday from 2021, directed by Casey Tebow. It's got Devon Sawa from the Final Destination movies
Idle Hands.
and Idle Hands. Also has Bruce Campbell as the store manager. So it's a super fun one. It's basically a bunch of employees of a toy store are stuck working on Black Friday when it still happened on Thanksgiving. A meteor comes comes through town, and the Black Friday shoppers get infected and turn into. First, they kind of have a zombie vibe, and everything's super gory, and then they turn into some other monster. It's weird and goofy, but it's really really fun. You'll laugh your ass off. Bruce Campbell is like this cowardly corporate store manager, and you just love to hate him. And it's funny, it's stupid, and I like it a whole lot. If you've ever worked in retail, it's very relatable too.
Oh, good old
That's
retail.
everyone on this podcast.
Yeah.
Retail brought us together, you
Yeah, it
guys.
did. It did.
The one good thing it did for us.
Ugh. Ray, honorable mention.
Well, I guess one honorable mention, or my honorable mention is the movie Red Christmas. I covered it on a previous episode. I don't remember how far back, but
That's a
it's
good
from
one, Ray.
2016. It's directed and written by Greg Anderson. It's fucking crazy. It's
fucking wild.
Dee Wallace. Dee Wallace plays the matriarch of this family who's met for Christmas and having Christmas dinner, and this stranger shows up, who seems like he just seems like a homeless person, but then like it gets very menacing, and I'm gonna spoil a little bit.
No, don't,
because
because I want to see this actually. I just
all right.
don't spoil
It's
anything.
fucking the spoiler on who the killer is fucking crazy. Like it's just bonkers. And it just gets it's so weird. But it's entertaining and like I remember starting to watch it and then realizing Dee Wallace was in it and I was like, oh, how nice! Like it just it because it's weird because I felt like that was going to possibly be like a return to her to horror, because she's been kind of absent for like a while, but she's just one of those people that you see on screen like oh shit, I'm totally blanking on the name of the actress from Jacob's Wife.
Barbara Crampton.
Crampton, yes, who that like once you like she's just one of those old school like horror scream queens that once you see her on screen like oh it's gonna be good. Like when I saw Dee Wallace, I was like, ooh, this is gonna be good. But yeah, this movie's it's a weird ass movie, but it's a great time, and it legit takes place right on Christmas Day. So
It is
it's for sure
fucking
Christmas.
weird. It is fucking really weird. You know what I was reading about it, Ray? A lot of the people acted in it for free. It was like
wow.
super
Really?
low budget. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not going to do an honorable mention because it's not, I don't really have anything. But I will say one of the movies I know Anthony would have had as his pick was Inside, the French film.
Oh,
Son of a bitch, that is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I love that movie, but I don't feel like it's necessarily a Christmas movie, even though it does take place at Christmas.
It takes place on Christmas.
Yeah, but written and directed by Alexandra Bastillo and Julien Moret, who also did like Livid and Deep House and Among the Living and like a bunch of fucking movies that are all great. So
that's a good one. Damn.
that is a good one. If I can, I want to throw in one more, because that one has inspired me. The French Horror Connection. This is a movie I saw a couple years back. I think I talked about it on a podcast, but if you don't remember, go check it out. It's a movie called Shaitan, spelled Sheitan. It's a French horror film directed by Kim Chaperion and written by Christian Chaperion. I think, and the director also wrote it.
Is it a Christmas movie?
It's a fucking Christmas movie, bro. It's about these French friends at a disco on Christmas Eve. I know I said bro, but it takes place on Christmas Eve. They're at the disco. They're out having fun, and one of the girls goes, "Oh, I'm gonna go to my family's farm. You guys should all come. It's gonna be great." So they all agree to go to the family farm, where one of the people in her family is played by Vincent Cassel.
Mm-hmm.
Sold.
And he's a fucking lunatic in this movie, and it just gets so bizarre and weird from there. Like you're just like, it has somewhat of like a Texas Chainsaw, like I forget the name of the other French film where the
Frontiers?
robbers Frontiers feel to it, but it just gets the motivations and like what happens involving the friends and like this family. It's fucking weird and it's fucked up and it's great. It totally takes place right on Christmas Eve and then into Christmas, and you're just like, oh shit, like this is a nightmare. It's it's so crazy. It's so worth a watch.
Is Vincent Cassell the guy from Brotherhood of the Wolf?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
he's been in a lot of stuff. I mean, he's been in that.
he was in
Okay.
Underwater probably
He's
most
been in
recently.
Irreversible.
Okay.
He was in Black Swan. Like that
Yeah.
fucking guy gets himself
Oh,
out
yeah,
there. Like, yeah.
Yeah, sold. I'll check it out.
It's on Shudder.
Ex-husband
Or was.
of
Monica
no,
Bellucci.
Bellucci, yeah.
Actually, it's not horror at all, although it's horrific. But I started rewatching Happy, the Netflix show with Christopher Maloney.
Dude,
Oh,
that shit was funny.
That's one of the funniest. The violence in that show makes me laugh to the point of almost pissing myself. It is absolutely fucking amazing.
I still have to
And
check that out.
and there's elements of it that are pretty horrific, but it's not horror. But anyway, I just had to bring that up because it makes me very happy.
Daddy
Which I
Maloney.
guess title, there's proof of concept. Well, so that's deep dive in holiday horror. So
We're gonna get you, Sean, to enjoy holiday horror.
oh well, I definitely feel like now, like I think I've been fixated on I don't know, Silent Night, Deadly Night. I don't know, like that. There's
Just go to part 3 with the toy maker. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, that one's fun.
well, okay. So we'll be back again soon with another episode. But until then, there's your holiday. Right, that'll get everybody through the month. So for the Vision of Horror, I'm Sean.
I'm Ray, so we're good to go.
I'm Missy.
Tori doesn't want any part. She's done.
Corey,
A pandemic of violence floods the streets of major cities as cases of the media-dubbed murder virus, MV20 soar, causing those infected to go on killing sprees. Caught in the middle, police detective Angela Miller finds her only trustworthy ally in the self-proclaimed psychic PI, Gerald Henry. As the two try to navigate the violence, they are drawn into New Age guru Abramelin Harvest's plot to heal the planet. Harvest's missive?
The world is sick, and humanity is the infection.
The cure? Murder. From the twisted mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires and Shadow Play in Book 1, Kim and Jesse, comes his most vicious novel yet, Murder Virus.